And now let's listen to Reverend Dr. Blake.
Thank you so much, Janet. And what a privilege it is to be here with this extraordinary group of presenters. I'm feeling very honored to be asked to be part of this great occasion and to be part of the work of Ethics in Tech, founded by our member, church member, Bailey Thurman. April 1945, delegates from 50 countries, inspired by a vision of creating an international organization that would denounce war and promote peace, met in San Francisco, trusting that this vision would bear fruit. The world had just experienced the end of World War II and the 70 to 85 million people who perished as a result. The goal of the United Nations Conference on International Organization was to fashion an international body to promote peace and prevent future wars. The ideals of the organization were stated in the preamble to its proposed charter. We, the peoples of the United Nations, are determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind. The charter of the new United Nations organization went into effect on October 24th, 1945, a date that is celebrated each year as United Nations Day. The creation of the UN was a commitment to find another way forward, a way of cooperation, a way that recognized the interrelationships of the nations of the world, a way to bury the barbarism of war. 1945 was 1 year after the founding of the church where I serve as presiding minister and where Bailey Thurman is a cherished member. The Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples. Its founding principle was that of bringing people together from diverse stations in life, racial, national, creedal, believing that times of togetherness, of deep spiritual engagement over a significant time period would result in a sense of common ground, community, that would undermine the divisiveness, the barriers, the othering that cause fear, antagonism, and hatred. Mrs. Sue Bailey Thurman, a charter member of the church, was actually an unofficial delegate to the founding of the United Nations. This effort to embody among the nations of the world what had been embodied in Fellowship Church was a gift beyond measure to the mentality of inevitable war, or war as an answer to conflict. 3 years later, with the extraordinary leadership of legendary Eleanor Roosevelt, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights became a living being. This document, with its 30 articles, projected a path away from the quagmire of killing millions of people in this evil ritual of sanctioned murder. The Declaration has inspired the establishment of other human rights documents around the world. In the articles, the colonized were equal and had the same rights as the colonizers, thereby undercutting these oppressive designations. Surely this is prerequisite for promoting and protecting peace and for honoring global interdependence. The Declaration was more than a treaty, for it promoted the aspiration to live as sisters and brothers, sharing the resources and living in harmony so that none need be afraid. They agreed with G. Lowes Dixon in a book published in 1923 entitled War, Its Nature, Cause, and Cure. And in that, he said that if mankind does not end war, war will end mankind. Do you think you have an idea where JFK might have gotten his quote? Dixon also said that the remedy to war is a change in policy. He said all states in all their wars have always had a double object. On the one hand, to keep what they have got. On the other, to take more. The aspiration to live as sisters and brothers is a tall order for us in the United States. But we were formed by exploiting others, other indigenous communities, Africans and their descendants, women, the poor. While our founders spoke and wrote beautiful rhetoric, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal. But that has never been the reality. The nation has been constantly at war and preparing for war presently. What other reason can one give for the awarding of the Pentagon even more billions than President Biden had requested, which was more than President Trump's last Pentagon budget? I thought we had ended the war in Afghanistan. War games are upon us. We see them every day on electronic devices, the slaughters, the good guys, always employing violence in order to achieve their object. This is just a small part of the war, but in some ways as deadly. What I might call the tech war in its extraction from us of data, mined, refined, and used to satiate the greed of the owners of the various platforms that control our lives, and to which we are often willing to give our allegiance. Perhaps I should not call it war. Perhaps colonization is better. But this is our dilemma that stretches even beyond physical war into the tech world. Those minority of people who own so much of our economy, even more than those founding fathers, who continue to take more, to extract more from communities and individuals without adequate compensation, if compensation at all. It is not, however, technology that is the problem. Technology has been a blessing in many ways for our congregation, for my teaching, for my shopping. With the prohibition of worship service at the outbreak of COVID-19, our church turned to Zoom, which has provided an extraordinary platform for checking in with each other. A website facelift has resulted in approximately 150% increase in our mailing list. Yet my seminary class and religious class on leadership was Zoom-bombarded with pornography. I seemingly had no control over being bombarded with information I did not request, communications from unknown and unwanted sources, attempted fraud and hacking of emails. Of more concern, however, is the impact on our young people in so many areas: education, building social skills and relationships, often circumscribing their worldview, as well as sometimes expanding it. My concern in they're being recruited for the military, the very issue that the United Nations and its Universal Declaration of Human Rights were dedicated to ending. The false information piped into their electronics, false promises, false guarantees perpetuate rather than curb the thirst for war. So how do we employ ethics to communication technologies like social media? What behavior is required? What measures or policies need to be in place to prevent or at least manage fake news and the invasion of privacy? Is there a license or at least a pledge that the creators and controllers of the social platforms could be required to sign, stating that the information they accumulate will not be used to harm or exploit? Is there a way to assure that the technology which they control will be used exclusively to promote the common good, promote justice, promote compassion, to level the field so that the excluded can be included, not as mere consumers, but as employers and creators? I feel compelled to raise the alarm, just as Dixon warned, that if mankind does not end war, war will end mankind. If we, the people, do not get a better grip on technology and cannot bring pervasive ethical guards and guarantees, we could very well perish. We have the technology to change the brain and behavior and determine when people die. We have the power to destroy our ecological habitat. What is our will, and how will we intervene? The beloved community of love, peace, and justice that Martin Luther King envisioned is still possible, and we still have the choice of chaos or community. I would like to substitute the word "it" for the original word "I" in this Bodhisattva prayer for humanity. It embodies for me a poetic understanding of ethics and technology. May it be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May it be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitude of living beings, may it bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are free from sorrow and all are awakened.